And welcome to the first edition of the PM Express Manifesto Tracker. We are live tonight on Joy 99.7 FM. We are also live tonight on Hindrance FM. And of course, you are live on the Joynews channel. This is the Manifesto Tracker. And I can see a certain gentleman in my shot. He is attempting to do a coup d'etat. He is obviously, I know him as Abuaje. I mean, back in the day, if you know, you know. But he is George Quay, host of Rhythms A to Z on Joy 99.7. Oh, showbiz. You have went here for too long. But you used to be Rhythms A to Z. You went here for too long. Well, that's what happens when you are such an old fellow in the institution. But thank you very much.
No, thank you for having me. It's an honor, and this is good. And we are also live on Joy Prime as well. And it is very important that we start this with the creative sector.
Absolutely. So we're going to look at the creative arts sector. And what we do on Manifesto Tracker is to look at the manifesto, take a sector, and break it down and do some real critical analysis. We want to leave you by the time we finish with you pretty informed in making a decision on whether that promise serves your needs, so you can make an informed decision on December 7th. Let's go through what we have for you tonight. What we started to do was to look at the MPP 2020 manifesto, the creative arts. We are beginning to break this down. Promises on the creative arts and tourism. This is the total number of, we first broke it down into numbers because that gives you a quick sense of what is happening from one election year to the next. So if you look at combining both creative arts and tourism, what did we find in terms of the numbers? We found that in 2016, the NPP made 16 promises in all in the creative arts and tourism that are combined. Yeah. And if you look at in 2020 there, it is 5. Tell me something. This tells a story, right? Because you see a dramatic drop in the sheer number of promises.
It definitely tells a story because one might ask, does it mean that 11 out of the 16 promises that were made in 2016 have actually been achieved? Yeah. Or is it that they just couldn't achieve them? You know, when you're campaigning, I mean, the desire to want to be in power makes you say a lot of things. Yeah. But once you get the power, reality check hits you.
Absolutely.
And then could it be that that reality check is what made them drop 11?
Fair question. Fair question. When you're in a position, you tend to throw a lot of promises out there. After being in government for 4 years, you get a reality check and you wonder, I don't want to promise something that I know I cannot deliver. But let's narrow it down to the creative arts specifically. Yeah. So in 2016, in creative arts, as you can see on the screen, if you are listening on Joy 99.7, listen on the radio and watch it on our many social media platform because the graphics tell a big story as well. So don't miss out on both. In 2016, the MPP made 8 promises just on creative arts. Yeah. Same number, if you do the comparison as we did, if you combine both creative arts and tourism, it still remains at 5 for 2020. Tells you that the cultural bit has been de-emphasized.
Exactly.
And in favor of creative arts.
In favor of creative arts. And what you also see is that in 2016, they tried at least to split it, equal share. 8 for creative arts, the other 8 going for tourism, because it was a total of 16.
Your mathematics teacher was very good.
Let's not go there. You know, so that is the thing. So probably we should go into the next, then we can look at what exactly these promises were and how come whatever those 3, or could it be that some have repeated themselves?
Specifics.
Which 3 have disappeared? Yeah. How come it's 5 now?
Let's do that. Let's do that. Let's go into the specifics. So in 2016, these are the specifics, promises from the breakdown. They said in 2016, MPP established a creative arts fund. Exactly. You see again, setting up a creative arts fund. These are promises that we saw have been repeated.
What has happened is
from one election year to the next.
They changed the English a bit. Established now became set up.
You know, that's a good one.
Exactly.
That's a good one. In essence, they're keeping it.
Exactly.
But the question you ask is relevant here also. Yeah. Repeating it is an admission, is it not, that we failed to implement it?
Exactly.
We know that the Creative Arts Fund bill is something in the works.
I think in the cabinet at the moment also, I don't know. It's been going back and forth, you know, but it needs to come out so that offices like the Creative Arts Council and all those things can get to work, because people have been working for 4 years now not getting paid. Yeah. Because really there is no law to back what it is they are doing. Okay. You know, so we need to establish and understand exactly why. And probably when we sit with the panel, which is what's going to happen after this, we'll get to understand why.
So let's look at the next big, and this again, these are the repeated promises. So it says create a division of the High Court focusing on the creative arts to deal with the matters relating to construct new. Okay, so what we are doing is simply to run through the key creative arts specific promises one election year to the next for you. I mean, this was set. Construct new theaters in Takoradi.
That's what's happening this year.
Let's go to the next slide that tells you establish a creative arts council. That was in 2016, by the way. But in 2020, you still establish a partnership with the private sector, large recording. So we'll break this down for you shortly. If you go on to acquire technology and equipment needed to log creative works, that was in 2016. If you look at 2020, it's something entirely different is coming up. Build a digital platform for artists to make their products put it on the global market. 2016, promote the regional and district literature, music, dance, and drama competitions in schools. That was said in 2016. 2020, construct one of the biggest conventions, and this one controversial. We'll come to that.
It's pretty interesting.
No, I know you're tempted. Stay with me. We'll come to that. Now, if it finishes before 2020, because it's just five, right? But if it continues for 2016, construct modern large seating theaters in every regional capital except Accra, beginning with Takoradi
and Tamale and Kumasi.
That was in 2016. Let's go back. Let's go 2016 still. Set up an additional copyright office in Tamale to create for the northern sector. Again, create an information portal and set up a task force to assist our youth and artisans in making their products and services visible, local, national, global scale. Again, in 2016. This just tells you in 2016 there were far more specific promises, right?
Back to back.
Back to back. You see, this column is blank. Because really it cannot match.
For our radio listeners, that's a 2020 column. It's blank, totally.
Perfect. Now let's look at entirely new promises. 2020 manifesto. We counted 2, George.
Exactly.
Only 2.
Fresh. The others are all recycled.
And so let's go into that quickly. Establish, in partnership with the private sector, large recording studios in Accra, Kumasi, Tamale, and Takoradi. This is entirely new, right?
Yeah, it is.
I mean, we'll come to analysis of whether this is something you need in your sector.
Well, one of the musicians has said we don't need it. Adam has said that, but we'll come to it.
We'll come to break down why.
Like you rightly
said. The
second
entirely new one is construct one of the biggest convention, and that's a little big one, exhibition centers in the world, with emphasis, by the way, at the trade fair company. So these are 2 entirely new promises that had been made.
I find this one quite strange, though, because is this going to be different from the National Cathedral that we're already building? Or are we going to change the name of the National Cathedral to call it a convention center? Because I really don't get it. Why you should have a National Cathedral and then have a convention center all located in your capital city.
When you said this to me off air, I said, can Shatawale perform in that?
Okay, so then, why are we spending so much money to build a church? Well, a National Cathedral is a church in one way. And then we take another huge sum of money to go build a convention center. And the scary part is the biggest in the world.
Hold on, don't let the cat out of the bag, because that is something we'll be strictly analyzing just before the next segment takes over. Now, let's look at the similar and repeated promises. This is important. Again, 2016, we are still comparing 2016 to 2020 manifestos. We counted a total of 3 promises that have been repeated from 2016 to 2020 in the MPP manifesto. What are they? Establish, again, you said they changed
establish a creative arts fund, set up the creative arts fund.
What next? We see also the next one, which is
construct modern large seating theaters in every regional capital except Accra, beginning with Takoradi, Tamale, and Kumasi.
That's in 2016.
That's 2020. It says construct new theaters in Takoradi and Tamale.
So there's a slide, I guess.
Because they've already said that the one in Kumasi has started. However, a group of creative arts practitioners and bloggers and media people in Kumasi have gone to the site and tell us it is not a new theater as was promised. So we'll come to that as well.
Okay, we will. And the last one is
creating an information portal and set up a task force to assist our youth and artisans in making their products and services visible on a local and national and global scale.
The wording has changed slightly, but it's the same thing in 2020.
It's been summarized.
Yes.
Build a digital platform for artists to make their products available to the global market. You can see that this is just a summary.
Again, I mean, so 3 of them, it's an admission, I guess, that we couldn't do it all the way promised in 2016. Let's bring it back. And the question I always ask when I see the repeated promises is, if we couldn't do it in 4 years, what is the guarantee that if we give it another chance, you could do it this time?
Very good
because it's about track record, right? You couldn't do it, but you say give another chance. This time I'll do it. But you know that is a key question that comes up. Now let's look at status, and this is important. The status of the 2016 promises, because in scrutinizing the manifesto, for a party in government, you must necessarily go back to their track record in implementing some of the promises. One of the things we are looking at is establishing Creative Arts Fund. The status is that the Creative Arts Industry Bill, Fund Bill, is at the cabinet level, right? Yeah. And the Act will establish the Creative Arts Fund.
Exactly.
So it's still not done.
No, it's not.
Okay, that's
but at least it's work in progress.
Yeah. Again,
reviewed and actively implement the culture policy. Status of that is that 6-member committee finished its work on 22nd March 2019.
Okay, so
question now is what next?
What next?
They would also argue it's work in progress.
It's work in progress. Well, but again, you say promise. I mean, you haven't delivered in 4 years.
Exactly.
Work in progress is not completed. Build a detailed inventory of all cultural assets. Now you say, well, in fact, we conclude that we have no proof of work done.
No.
On this.
No.
Some people are more categorical that it hasn't been done, but we say we didn't find any proof.
Maybe they've done it, but just haven't made it public
yet. And so we say we didn't have any proof yet. Okay, so again, construct modern large seating theaters in every regional capital except for Accra, beginning with Takoradi, Tamale, and Kumasi. The status is that Gofredria is said to be done, but this is a controversial one, right? The status is that the government says they've completed the Gofredria one. But it is what we look at, when we examined it, is a long-standing Center for National Culture building.
Yeah.
That is simply refurbished.
Exactly. And it's a similar story for Kumasi as well. And you'd realize that in the 2020 promise, the Kumasi bit is missing because it is assumed that Kumasi is done. But as I was saying earlier, it is the Kumasi Cultural Center which has been or is being refurbished. So it is not new as was promised. Okay. It's like you promised me a brand new pair of shoes. And then you bring me my big brother's pair of shoes. You've taken it to a shoe shine and polished it and brought it to me. They're not the same.
Well, so that is an interesting one. I mean, in scrutinizing the manifesto, the final status report creates an information portal and sets up a task force to assist our youth and artisans in making their products go global. Again, clearly not executed.
No, totally
not executed. I mean, from 2016.
Maybe when we get into the second part of the conversation,
we might get some. We have people who should know.
Exactly.
Okay, but so far, as we're concerned, we didn't find evidence that it has been done. Now let's move to our quick next slide. Now this is where the real analysis is. We are looking at viability and needs analysis. You should not just, and this is a key thing about a manifesto tracker, you should not just promise something because it's popular, but you must promise it because the people actually need it and the outcomes will make an impact. So we are going to analyze these promises against those two key criteria. Of course, viability, needs assessment. Let's look at the setup of the Creative Arts Fund. My argument, if you look at the data from the World Travel and Tourism Council, which tells us that it contributed some 12.5 million, 6.2% of the 2017 GDP. That tells you that if you set up the Creative Arts Fund, it will create jobs. It will boost, it will increase these figures.
But they would argue that these figures here focus mainly on tourism. But this is for creative arts. However, you would be surprised to know that the creative arts actually has the potential to generate a lot more than what tourism alone.
I like the word you use, potential.
Potential to generate a lot more, because even when you go on the Untagged website, research they did last year showed that last year globally, the creative arts sector contributed 3% to the world's GDP. And that is even from records of countries that have actually documented. You understand? Let us ask Ghana, what have we documented so far? What do we have? We had a year of return last year, a lot of creative art related, music related activities and all those. Of course, it tied into tourism because people visited places. However, have we been able to document all these to see the actual worth, what the creative arts actually did?
Your conclusion there, this is a good, viable promise, and it meets the needs of the industry.
Super promise.
Let's look at the next one, which is construct a new theater in Takoradi and Tamale. Now, again, if you look at the numbers, I mean, again, if you look at the numbers from the report I cited earlier, they even estimate 4.2%, 19.8 million percent of the GDP by 2028 projection. So if you want to meet that projection, if you do the theaters, something that you love. I mean, when I was watching Abuaji, your character back in the day, if you had a theater in Takoradi and Tamale, it definitely will help you create more work.
There is no denying
employ more people, contribute more to the GDP. So this again is viable and it meets the needs of the industry.
It is very viable. It meets the needs of the industry. But when you look across the board, you'd realize that government, past and present, have neglected the arts woefully.
Completely.
And even our interest
in the White on my mind.
Exactly. Woefully. Look, we shut down the State House banquet hall. And somebody will say, oh, but it's not a theater. It is, in a way, because everything that happens there falls under the purview of the creative arts, one way or the other. You understand? It's been shut down for renovation for how long? You go to the University of Ghana, School of Performing Arts. You started building a theater as far back as 2009 or 10. Until date, it's not finished.
Yeah.
You understand?
So
then we're talking about theaters, big theaters at other places. You're not building them, but repainting and refurbishing.
So that is clearly a key one. Let's just quickly run through the last one, and then we'll go to some reanalysis of the others. Build a digital platform for artists to make their products available to the global market. Again, we conclude that if you look at the projections, and as you see, 682,000 jobs, representing some 5.2% of national employment figures in 2017. And even if you look at the current figures, if you have this, why it will attract more people into it because they can put their products globally.
Definitely.
I mean, so definitely this is something that government should do.
Definitely. And it's a good promise. Isn't difficult because a lot of these platforms exist
already exist. I mean, government is just going to facilitate
a lot of them
expansion.
There are people that have what it takes to create them. You understand? And you just need to partner them.
Now, here's a controversial one. Large recording studios in Accra, Kumasi, Tamale, and Takoradi. Now, here is the point, though. We argue that this one is not viable, at least for Tamale and Takoradi. It's not viable. The argument we are making, you can bear me out on this, is that the market for recording studios in Tamale, which private sector guy is going to invest in the qualification is a large recording studio? Which private sector guy is going to put a large recording studio in Tamale?
Evans, the thing is
for what market?
For everybody who's into music, you'd realize that the strength or the width or the function of the studio is not even in its size per se. The size becomes relevant when you're doing large live band recordings. It is more in the quality of the engineer, the person sitting behind the console.
Capacity.
So it can be in a very small space. It's relevant. And look,
so it's not in size.
It's not necessarily in size. Why do our Ghanaian musicians do their records here and go all the way to Germany to meet a certain Budustaija or you know, the late? You understand? Because of the quality that he brings to the works. Why would musicians be going to particular beat makers or particular engineers and all that? It's because of the expertise. So the point I'm trying to make is that, do we really need this? Or do we really need to
invest in capacity to be an engineer?
Exactly.
Which we lack.
That capacity, so that you can actually train more engineers. Because getting a studio is not difficult.
Let me ask a question then on this then. And the question that again we'll be asking quite often on Manifesto Tracker is, what problem is this trying to solve? Is it the case that we have a lack of large studios in Ghana? That's why it
is not. As far as I'm
that is not a need,
all musicians that are in Kumasi that want to record and release. Musicians in Tamale, Fancy Gadam came to win Song of the Year. Well, he came down to Accra to record that particular song, you know, and all that. Musicians that want to record in Takoradi, everywhere in the country, if you want to record, you will find a studio which is good enough to be able to record you. Yeah. Maybe when it comes to mastering, then you'd have to elevate it to another level to get somebody to do the mastering for you. But when it comes to recording, we don't need studios.
I mean, so that is a key thing to watch. This particular promise, our conclusion is that it's not one that we need. I mean, the industry people need. Now, a final one to analyze is construct one of the biggest convention and exhibition centers in the world, biggest in the world, at the Ghana Trade Fair Center. Our conclusion is that there's a need for a convention center.
Well, there is a need.
But we don't need the biggest, because if you look at it, we've checked the data across the world. Yeah. The largest convention and exhibition center in the world is in Shanghai.
Shanghai, that's the NECC.
It's called the National Exhibition Convention Center. It seats 400,000 people. The question we are asking is, to build the biggest, we need to have a capacity of more than 400,000.
Exactly.
Do we have the market in Ghana to fill 400,000 plus? You do shows. Your biggest show you can do, how many people will be a space unoccupied and will go to waste?
But you see, the thing about convention centers is that they are not just built for shows. Sometimes you want to do, say, an auto show where you're going to have large trucks, you're going to have big cars and stuff in there. You may need a space because you may need demonstration spaces as well. However, the question of the biggest, is a very key.
You're going to be more than 400,000 capacity.
That is a
question.
You
do shows. The question I'm asking you, is this what you need?
Like I said, I do a lot more of concert shows, music and stuff. However, for a convention center, it is multi-purpose.
Can you ever fill a 400,000 plus in Ghana? If Shanghai is in China, the country with the biggest population.
If BMW were doing an auto show, they might be able to fill it.
So
however, is that what we need right now?
You say what?
Do we need to invest so much into that? I don't think so.
Yeah, and so again, we say that particular promise isn't something that we really need in terms of the biggest in the world.
Especially when we already built it.
Yeah, just build something suited to our needs in terms of size and capacity. That is the analysis for this particular segment. After the break, George Quay is taking a seat with his guest, and they're going to do a bit more justice in analyzing all this. I'm simply going to disappear, and George is taking over. The coup has succeeded.
It's not succeeded yet. We'll be back. Charlie. Right, so welcome back. This is PM Express, and of course, we're probing the manifesto. We just started with Evans Mensah. Special thanks to Evans for that handover. In the studio right now, I've been joined by Mark Okruk-Mante, President of the Creative Arts Council. Of course, we've got Mr. Rex Umar right here. He's the chairman of the Ghana Music Rights Organization. And my very good friend, Arnold Asamoah Beidu. We call him Pandit #1 in GH. One of the most troublesome pundits you can find around. So straight, we're not going to waste any time. We're going to go straight into it. Gentlemen, you saw the analysis that we did. Initial thoughts. Mark, let me start from you.
I know this laughing because I said that, but the host and his friend are already selling me out that they are already not happy.
Oh, so no,
I'm wondering if you're going to be neutral.
No, Mark, you're getting it wrong. Forget my role in that presentation.
Okay.
What we're doing now is totally different.
Sure.
So you saw some people do some presentation. What is your analysis of that presentation?
I think that some of the points were right. Some of them too, I will not blame them because they are not by the day-to-day operations of what we do. And so they are only speaking from what they know from afar. Yeah.
Beautiful. Rex, what was your thoughts on that presentation that you saw, the analysis? That was
I think by and large it was okay, only that there was some slight inaccuracies. For example, the MPP 2016 promises in the both creative arts and the tourism was not 16, they were 18.
Oh, they were even more?
Yes, they were 18.
Mark, were they 18?
Yeah, they were 18, and yes.
I only chose my creative art one.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
It's 18.
It's 18, and then 8 were specific for the creative arts. Yes, so and that one is...
so the 8 for the creative arts, that was right. And those were the ones that the analysis focused on. And what are your initial thoughts of that analysis?
I was genuinely impressed. The presentation was quality. The facts and figures that were provided, the analysis that you and Evans did, I think generally was good. Just a few, like they said, a few bits that could have been done better, but generally was good.
Especially the studio.
We'll get into it.
All right, let us get straight into it. Mark, I mean, you are with the NPP. That is why you're president of the Creative Arts Council. From 2016 to 2018, how many of the promises that you made in 2016 can you confidently say the NPP has been able to deliver?
Okay. I think that I must communicate the fundamentals before, because if somebody who just joined us from New York see what we are doing, will think that, oh, creative art is an industry that is about 40 years in governance, and NPP promised and they couldn't do much as they promised. Creative arts sector in the state governance of this country was virtually zero. And I quote one person from the Ministry of Tourism, Art and Culture in the transition stage who said that, because I realized they were talking tourism. So I asked, why you not saying anything about creative arts? I said, oh, as for creative arts, it's just the name that they brought, but nothing has been done. So we virtually took a zero space that was starting. And so I don't know if you've ever tried to build a house for someone outside before. If you gave him the budget for foundation, he will tell you you've chopped his money. Because if they take a picture of foundation to you and tell you the cost, if you've not done construction before, you won't believe. Same as what we've gone through. A lot of people, because we cannot point tangibles, we've done a lot of intangibles. But you know, the intangibles actually control the world more than tangibles. And those are the most difficult parts, just like the foundation I used. And so it is difficult to pinpoint a particular tangible and say this is what we've done. But I can mention Koforidua, I can mention Kumasi ongoing.
I want to focus specifically on the promises. I understand the concept of tangibles and intangibles, a lot of background work, but you make me a promise. My wife promised to buy me a pair of shoes on my birthday. My birthday has come. I haven't seen the shoes. And she's now telling me that they had to draw my leg. So it's in the drawing process. I want to understand what you mean by the tangibles and intangibles.
Shoe is relative.
Because you made us promises.
Shoe is relatively cheap. Theaters.
It depends on what kind of shoe.
But still, compared to state properties, shoe is relatively cheap. So to compare to shoes, someone might not understand.
No, that is just a hypothetical situation.
I get it.
You get me?
Yeah. So I'm trying to let you know the gravity of what you are talking about. These are things that are supposed to be backed by a law. You know what has happened to this MBSSI thing and what we are going through? Originally, we all thought MBSSI was going to share or distribute the monies to creative art or the other groupings. And then Parliament warns them, are you aware you are not a financial company? You cannot give loans. But I'm sure MBSSI originally thought, oh, it could happen. But you go in and see that, oh, you cannot. Who are these people? Till date, some people see us as aliens because what is your position in governance? Which law backs you? So, with good intent, President Akufo-Addo is a lawyer who respects the rule of law. In almost every speech that he gives, you see rule of law. And so because of that, we are being controlled by law. And because of the law aspect that is supposed to govern us, that's why we are where we are. But we still have done all the groundwork that with the 4 more, you'll see wonders.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Let me bring Arnold into the conversation. Arnold, Max says with 4 more, they would bring a lot of stuff into the conversation. I mean, I know you are a creative space watcher, and you've been following a lot of these things. In the last couple of days, or if not weeks, I've been following your commentary as well. Let me say tonight, we are not firing. Rex, there's no fire. We're all taking it calm and easy. There is no firing, not on this platform, all right? If you fire, you walk out.
No fire. Oh, they can fire with new men.
No, we're not firing. There is no fire here, okay?
Facts and figures.
I mean, I don't know if you heard Mark, but from what he said, out of 8 from 20, we'll come to the 8, that is 5 now. Out of 8 from 2016, only 2. One is work ongoing in Kumasi, Takoradi completed. The rest are intangibles in process. I mean, what does that tell you?
I mean, if you set up a business or a venture and you give yourself a target, objectives and aims, and you're unable to achieve them, you can tag it as a failure. And so I do not know. I'm not the one tagging it. I'm just giving an analysis. I think when it comes to the construction of the theaters, one of the reasons why it is the loudest is because over the period, industry players have touted the fact that we need venues, we need large sitting capacity theaters and all. And so when you realize, every time we talk about the manifesto, provisions and commitments, that one actually makes the loudest noise because of the complaints that we've made over the period. If you see the need for it, if you see the drafting or the construction of the English, it says we would pursue the construction of large sitting blah 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 blah. Now underline, we would pursue. It did not say we would construct and complete. You get it? And so what do we see? There's some
pursuance.
However, the issue is there pursuance to actually build a new one? Or for me, I feel it is quite disrespectful to the industry and to the players within the industry with regards to the narrative that has surrounded the construction of the theaters. George, let me give you some narratives. In 2019, the president, during his SONA, actually said Koforidua Theatre has been completed. The vice president, last week, during the town hall meeting, repeated the same narrative that Koforidua Theatre has been completed. Kumasi is ongoing. Then just last week during the manifesto reading, Nana Adobia mounted a platform with very fine English, also stated the fact that Koforidua has been completed. Kumasi is ongoing. So the issue is, what has been completed? Is it the refurbishment of the Center for National Culture or the large sitting capacity theater? And depending on how you look at it, it may sound deceptive or an affront to the industry. Because here you are promising us that you are going to set up a large sitting capacity theater, taking cognizance of the complaints that we've made over the period. And mind you, when the people who actually drafted the manifesto went into the room to put it on paper, they knew, they've heard the complaints. They knew exactly what we needed. So that's what they actually penned on paper. So if you come out and tell me, now listen to the president, the vice president, and Nana Dobia in their narrative, actually telling us that they've actually completed the theater. For me, I find it a little bit awkward.
Interesting. Arnold finds it awkward. Let me come to you, Rex. I mean, Arnold has set us in the premise of the theater. So let us stay there. We'll go deeper into it. In your opinion, do you feel that NPP has deceived us in regards to this theater conversation?
I don't feel that they have deceived that. They have actually deceived us. They gave promises that they never intended to fulfill them, because when I give you a promise to give you A, and it gets to a point that I feel that, no, I cannot come through with a promise. If I have any respect for you, I'll come and tell you, look, I said I was going to do this for you, but because of A, B, C, D, perhaps I can't do it, but I can do maybe refurbish A or B or C.
Yes.
That thing that they call a theater in Koforidua, in real sense, it's not a theater. Honestly speaking, I mean, look at the National Theater that we have in Accra. Look at the auxiliaries, I mean, the stage, the lighting, the PA system. It has a studio in there that you can even do a live sound. What kind of theater were they talking about when they promised that they were going to do large capacity theaters? This thing in Koforidua has been there for a very long time. So you've gone, you refurbish it, that's okay. If that is what you call a theater, to me it's a deception.
But Rex, hold on one second. Do you think, in all honesty, that people like yourself, people like me and Arnold, would have kept quiet if the NPP had abandoned those theaters, left them alone to rot, and went ahead to erect new ones? Do you think we would have? Don't you think it was actually in a good heart, you know, saving the public purse and all that, that they chose to refurbish what already existed?
Let me tell you.
Should we call that a deception?
No, let me tell you something. I mean, you come and say, I'll build a large capacity theaters. And as I've already told you, you have a space that you can perform, a performance space or whatever. But a theater, go and find a definition of what a theater is. Now, at the end of the day, they even goes ahead to tell you that, and Kumasi is ongoing. I mean, where in Kumasi is this theater ongoing? Are they referring to a Jabrim in Cultural Center? For Christ's sake, the day I heard this from the vice president, immediately I called my people in Kumasi, please, go to a Jabrim and take pictures. I want to know what's happening. I can show you the pictures here. You know, a Jabrim, I was discovered in a Jabrim in the 80s. Nothing has happened there. You know, so if you come and tell me, it's a blatant lie.
Mark, the industry says you have lied to
let me correct this.
Yeah.
It's not true.
Which one?
Which is not true?
Nothing has happened in Jabrim. I knew Jabrim since he was born in Kumasi. I wasn't born there. Okay. But because of what I do, I knew that venue. You remember VGMA went to Kumasi to do a gospel show?
The one nobody came.
The one nobody came, correct.
Yeah.
It's good you remember.
Yeah, we played our own show there and danced.
After that, I was there late last year.
Yes. Yeah.
I was there last year.
And viewers, just for clarity, Jabrim, as Rex refers to, as a Kumasi Cultural Center. Yes. It's right there. Yeah.
Yes. There's a building.
Yeah.
A building called
Jabrim.
You have
inside the Cultural Center. Yeah.
And I have a Jabrim.
Yeah,
sure. Before and now, if you knew the place very well, there's a change. I was actually the one who stopped that project.
Why?
Okay, good. I didn't go myself.
So wait, the project has stopped. There's nothing ongoing.
We stopped it for a reason, and I'm telling you.
So there is nothing ongoing.
We stopped it.
But we just said recently that it's ongoing.
Yeah. Yes, but that's what I'm saying, that the vice does he know we have stopped?
Oh, so the vice president was not informed.
But see, apart from the vice, the narrative actually started from the president.
The president as a sona.
Exactly. Yeah. Then the vice president repeated it, and just last week, Nana Bibia
also said,
because
let us understand.
We stopped it because I saw pictures from Kufudia, just like Rex said. I agree with him. At the National Theatre, equipment-wise and standards.
It's not what you promised.
It's not. Come again.
It's not what you had promised. You realize that no, this doesn't. It's not as far as what we promised.
Yes. Yeah. So what kind of thing? There's an English word I wanted to use. So I stopped it and said that I wanted us to all to make input. So I took Mr. Kwache, Frank's father, to Kumasi. We have pictures to that. So he gave us what we need and what we do not need. So we made a lot of changes. We got the contractor on ground and gave some directions. And that was how it became so, as in how it stopped and why it's not moving on. But to say that it's the same as the job dream that he knew when he was performing Oma Messiah's years ago when Resuban started life, it is not like that now. It's not.
Whether
you know, one of the things that you can use to judge a building, whether something is new in it, is the type of balustrade and the type of tiles and things you see.
No, but what I want to really understand, Mark, is that did you promise to refurbish theatres or promise to build new theatres?
Okay. We like I said, the intent is good. At a point in time, I even came in to say that I've been able to convince Jubilee House that we should go for prefab because even huge buildings are getting bent and they get spoiled just like the same prefab. And the world is moving from bricks and mortar. So why don't we do already like the fantasy dome that people go? Yeah. And they bought into it. I can show you bills, stuff sent from China that we made presentation. Honorable COVID came in. And so, you know, COVID also came from China. And so it's difficult to go to China and go and do business. That is why we are here today as if we didn't make any effort.
But Mark, wait. COVID appeared in 2020.
Yes.
You had already done your 4 years.
Between now and the next 3 months, anything can happen.
No, hold on. Yeah. But you had already done the 4 years.
Yes.
So from 2016...
we hadn't done 4 years. We had done 3 years.
Okay. You had done 3 years. Yeah, you're in your 4th year now. Yeah. You had already done 3 years. Yeah. So since the promise was done from 2016 till date, are we saying it took 3 years to be able to go to China and come back and...
Okay. See, George, let's face it.
Because it took Charterhouse a week to erect the one at the
Good. You're a private sector. When I need anything
from 5 days.
When I need anything from multimedia, I just must send a mail and it gets done. Yeah, I don't know if you listened to the interview with Dr. Baumia yesterday on Peace FM. When they asked him some of his challenges in government, the last thing that he said was that what he's learned is that if you're looking for something, say 6 months in government, say you want it, your deadline is 2 months. Because it is extremely slower than what we see in the private sector.
So, Arnold, let me come to you. That is where I find strange. Okay, so you sat down, you looked at a group of people, great hearts. These people have been neglected for long, like Mark rightly said. So, virgin space, virgin territory, good idea. You made them promises. Year 1 passed, year 2 passed, year 3 passed. Shouldn't any of them prompt you that, Charlie, I'm not delivering?
See, you also asked the question about whether we are not excited with the renovation of the Center for National Culture in the other regions. Yeah. We are. I mean, these are buildings that cater to our needs.
Exactly.
However, there were promises made. And so, along the line, when you realize that it was impossible or not feasible to actually erect these new large sitting capacity theaters, what's wrong? All you need to do is tell Ghanaians that, listen, whilst I was in opposition, I figured I could do it. But in government, it's not easy like that. So I'm unable to achieve what I promised. However, this is what I would like to do to appease or to cater to your needs. Are we going to whip anybody?
Exactly.
You understand? But my issue is with the narrative. It's as if we are thinking, we are not deep thinkers.
But no, you see, you're making it look like there aren't things that you saw, like the NFA. Today we've established the NFA.
Yes. No. Yes. This one is on the theater. You understand?
But you see,
the fact is,
I can see time taken, and you'll be on the theater.
Let's move on.
That's why I want us to. That is why I want us to round it up.
But there are other things.
Because I looked at the broader picture. But I mean, you've made promises to people. The promise is not being delivered.
So the establishment is there's been a deception. There's been some level of disrespect to the industry with regards to these TFs. Once that is established, let's move on.
Mark, is this true?
No.
I mean, what do you expect Mark to say? I mean, he's speaking for his government. At the end of the day, look, there's been a deception and disrespect. No. I understand him correctly. Now let's move back to Mark said something that.
George, no, hold on. Yes, let Mark land.
Okay,
yes,
George, it is. I told a story yesterday on Hit FM. I don't know if you heard it. And on my trip to China, I met this African. We got close when having lunch, and he said, "How is Nana?" So I thought he was talking about some. He said, "Which Nana?" He said, "The pure president." I said, "Oh, Nana." He said, "Yes, I like him." I said, "Why do you like him?" He said, "He's an African leader." I said, "Why African leader?" So I wanted to probe more. I wanted to know him and why he's saying all the things he's saying. Guess what he said? He said he mentioned FSHS, mentioned 1D, 1F, and a few things. So I said that, so the fact that you have heard these things, how sure are you that they've done them? Then he said that.
Mark,
yeah,
this is your story will kill us.
How sure are you? And then I asked that question. How sure are you? He said, "Oh, I prefer him having a vision and at least promising."
Oh, so now it's a vision.
Wait.
Hold on.
I'm not landed.
No, you land quickly because we're out of time.
It is somebody's speech.
Yeah.
And then he said that where I come from, he hasn't promised anything at all. So we are just there. So between someone who has a target, who is not able to meet the target, I prefer him to someone who doesn't have a target at all.
Interesting. Right. Hold on. Don't worry. Let's move forward. They said they are going to build studios.
Yeah.
You are a musician. That is why I'm putting this to you first. Yeah. I mean, has the need for a studio ever been an hindrance to your creativity as a musician in any way?
I would say no. I mean, this day and age in Ghana, if the music industry or even the film industry needs something, it's not studios. Why am I saying so? Sound is a perception. Where I recorded, I'll give two simple examples. Where I recorded Abiba, it's a small studio. But the engineer, he has a perception of sound that gave me what I've. So you buy two cars. You buy Ferrari and you buy, say, i10, Hyundai i10.
I'll buy the Ferrari and Lord will buy the i10.
Now, if we are all going to Kumasi and my perception of speed is 100 kilometers per hour, I'm driving the Ferrari. And your perception of speed is 150 kilometers per hour, even though I'm driving Ferrari, you will get to Kumasi before I get to Kumasi, because that is your perception of speed, okay? So it's not about just going to buy equipment and put up studios, large capacity studios, no. These days and age technology, because of technology, a lot of people have studios that they can do their recordings and whatever. At most, what we need is maybe one studio B, extraordinary studio B, one for mixes. And even that, or mastering, and even that, if the personnel, the sound engineers are not well trained, majority of Ghanaian sound engineers mix with their ears. But sound is a frequency that you must understand, you know. So you don't just go and start up build studios around. Who is going to man this studio? They say in collaboration with private sector. When politicians, especially NPP, when they use these things, they are telling you we are not going to do it, and then we end up blaming whatever it is. You know, I mean, I want to correct some perception. Okreku said something that there are some intangibles and whatever. Yeah. First and foremost, let us be honest. Who muted the idea of Creative Council?
The NDC.
NDC. Who set up the Accra Tourism Information Center?
Yeah.
NDC. Yeah. Who sent the Creative Arts Bill to Parliament?
The NDC.
You know, so at the end of the day, you've come to power for 4 good years.
Creative Arts Bill wasn't in Parliament. It was just a draft.
Well, even if
there
it's
was
a draft,
nothing that has visited Parliament.
Hold on. Mark, you react.
Okay.
You react. So hold on. Yes, please land. But we're not going into NDC manifesto.
No,
we're waiting for yours, which will be released at the end of the month.
Yes,
then we'll dig into it as well. Yeah.
What I'm saying is, the intent of starting a draft of something that's supposed to go to Parliament means that they had intention to send it to Parliament.
I'm happy you respect intent.
So we formed that council. We started drafting the bill to Parliament, and then we left power. You've come. 3 and whatever years. The thing is still running around.
Don't worry. Let us focus on the subject on the table now, which is the studios. Yes. Arnold, your take on those studios. I mean, do you think it's a promise in, should I say, in futility? It's a promise the industry doesn't need?
No. It's something that we need, because over the period I've heard various complaints about our sound. And so I do not have, and I'm sure a lot of industry players do not have a problem with the establishment of a studio.
But funny enough, I've heard people like Appear 2's, people like Edem and stuff all complain that it's not what the industry needs.
Also, there are other sound experts within this country who are also for it. My issue is, 4 years ago, we were promised large sitting capacity theaters. Yeah. The word large was in there. Capacity was in there. 4 years down the line, we are still being promised large capacity ding. I'm skeptical. Again, let me go on to the studio-related matter. Yeah. The first person to actually raise this studio issue was my big brother here, 2017 in Kumasi, where he talked about the fact it was not even stipulated in the 2016 manifesto. But for some reason, because he's a sound guy and probably, based on some consultation, was able to, moot that idea. 2018, in an interview, he said no. Because of some backlash or some criticism from industry players, that project has been delayed. Early this year, in his creative arts for State of the Nation, creative arts address, he talked about the fact that no, government is no more going to fund or sponsor the project. Private entities will do it. Now, my confusion is,
please quote me well.
No, Mark, we'll come to you so we can react to part of it. Yes. Hold on, no, don't worry. Don't worry, Mark, let him land so that he can, or are you done? You done, so that he can react.
So my confusion is, with all these narratives, different narratives, how did it end up in the manifesto? You get it? Because in one of his commentaries, he talked about the fact that industry players are not for it. So at what forum, at what engagement did industry players say, yes, we want it? Like an undisputed core, a unanimous core that we actually wanted.
I think Mark can react to them now, unless you still have.
Oh no, he can. Mark, because of.
Okay, you all know that studio is always my baby. I love to sleep in a proper studio. I love to hear proper sound, and I believe that music is now an international product. We used to see it as a domestic product. Now, because of internet, Shatta Wale can collaborate with Beyonce.
True.
Yeah.
That's
and so if we are at this stage that some of these people are entering our market, we shouldn't see music as that one computer, 2 monitors from, say, Mackie, and then everybody brags to have a studio. And they say it is a technology driven, and so when a few things can make it happen. Go and check out where Jay-Z records with Timbaland. Go and check out how they get the sound they get. The Beyonce sound that Shatta Wale, compared to Shatta Wale's personal jobs in Ghana, you see the difference. And so what we are saying, Rex says that sound is a perception. I want to tell Rex today that you need that fine mix to the ear and the technology. You cannot just have an ear and get cheap gadgets. Most of our even softwares that we use in this country to record are cracked version of softwares, not the original. And so the fundamentals of our sound is already sick. That's why Rex Omar and the rest used to record in the West. If we had what he said, Bodo Stega had recorded most of our top artists taking Dutch marks and euros. Guess what? Kiddy has a song with Say Cheese. I'll play you the remix with Teddy Riley. When I play the two, you can tell the difference. Teddy Riley's just raw sound that he's done for Kiddy. You all haven't heard it before, I have it. That he should sing on it. The raw sound. People are recording with the drum machines and technology, and you are saying that let's play on battery, and you get the same sound. You won't get it. South Africa, even when they do their kwaito, a simple song with no vocal, there's a song that is going around now, Jerusalem. Listen to how clear the song is, because their basic standard is up there, because it's like a first world country.
But Mark, in all these, is it the studio or the person behind the machine?
So if you listen to my communication, I know they didn't mention it. I said we're going to train people who man it. Did I add that?
Yeah, you did.
Correct.
Can I say something?
You need that mix.
Let him land.
You need that mix, the human factor and the technology part, to be able to, the partnership that we mentioned. when we interviewed Ted Riley on Hit FM, he said he was ready to move his studio to Ghana.
Interesting.
Yes. So if Ted Riley brings his studio to Ghana, haven't you provided a studio to you?
What informed Accra, Kumasi, Takoradi, and
Okay, good. I was surprised that Evans was shooting down on Northern region when it comes to music.
Oh, not necessarily. He was only querying.
Okay.
Why? What informed this?
Okay, so let me tell you, Evans has cast news for how many years? I'm not sure he's gone to Tamale to even hear sound before. So I don't blame him. Tamale or Northern region, they have their own industry that someone like Fredima lived on for years.
He's been in Tamale actually to do ballot box.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fredima used to record these Northerners. They pass straight segment because it was a circle. His studio was around, what's the name of that? La Rêve. They go to him and fancy Gadam. He fills the stadium. How many of us in this room can fill the stadium? Makasio, you and I on VGMA board, when we underrated them and got to know later on that they have their own markets and we shouldn't underrate them. True or false?
I wouldn't say underrate, but we just didn't know them until
Correct.
we did.
I'm sure we are thinking the same for them again.
Yeah.
That, oh, Tamale, yeah. But I think that their industry is vibrant. Recently on VGMA, we saw one music video from Tamale.
But you see, I'm sure what informed Evans's position is the fact that, look, there is an element of cost. These theaters or these studios that you're talking about are going to be built with money.
Yeah.
The recordings that are going to be done in there, are you expecting those recordings to be free?
Okay. Like I mentioned that if it's PPP, public-private partnership, not Parkway Syndrome, PPP. If that is what you find in the paper, that's what we're going to do. Of course, it is capitalism. MPP is a capitalist belief party. And so we want private sector to grow. And so if we have to go to Bodostega, who is late now, may he so rest, or go to some top artists like Ted Riley in New York to record, it is relatively cheaper recording here and getting a similar power.
It's interesting.
Studio, when you mention sound studio, the first perception is that the use of it is just music recording. No, film. A lot of us, our films, we pick a CD, and then we bounce the music on it.
Mark, I understand what you're saying.
I also do understand.
Okay.
But I see, what's the guarantee? If we promise to set up theaters within 4 years, and we couldn't fix it, what's the guarantee that we'll be able to fix large capacity studios in the next 4 years? Again, a couple of days ago, so Christopher was on radio talking about the fact that the theaters were unable to be fixed because of land title related issues.
He was handling those things.
So what's the guarantee that going into the next 4 years we will not have or face land title related issues in this matter?
That's what I'm saying. You are not asking.
Hold on. No, I'll come back to you.
What I want to add is, I keep saying, I mean, somebody gives you a promise. He's not able to fulfill that promise. He looks straight into your eye and give you another promise. You know, I want Mark to look straight to the camera and tell Kumasi people that there is a theater built by MPP are ongoing.
Right. I think we want to
let me do that. Camera,
There's no theater.
There's no theater.
Hi, Kumasi. Please go to Jabrim tomorrow. I can do that.
But in all honesty, I think we can agree right now that the NPP did not deliver new ultra-modern large capacity whatever seating capacity theaters. I think we should admit and accept.
I'm surprised Anod has not mentioned this. Somewhere a year or two into governance, Deputy Minister came out to say that he thought that the numbers were a little bit on the high side.
Which Deputy Minister?
Of Tourism, Art and Culture. Ask him.
Yeah, but here you are, from the president all the way to the Nadubia. You guys are saying the theater has been completed.
And for example,
Kumasi is ongoing.
One shocking thing is, I heard Nana Dubia saying that they're going to set up National Folkloric Board. And I said, what? Folkloric Board? Folkloric Board has been there for ages. You know, these are some of the things.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, it is even here. You know, so the whole situation is, it's about time that the Ghanaian policymakers take the creative industry. I mean, when you go to other countries,
where you are going too quick. It is for when we are finishing the program, because there's one promise that I think we need to really go into. But I don't know if what you're going to say is short.
No, it's very short. It's still in connection with the studio.
Okay.
with regard to the fact that it's going to be PPP. You see, last year, we heard the talk about Film Village.
Yeah.
First, it was mooted that was be done in Eastern region.
Exactly.
Then after a little agitation from the guys, the folks from Ashanti region, there was a turnaround to say, oh, we'll fix one in Ashanti region, fix one in Eastern region.
Eastern region, yeah.
The Film Village was supposed to be PPP. Up till now, we've not heard anything in connection with that PPP.
See, George, that's why I said you've not been fair to me. What we've been able to do, you've not asked me to mention. So
but Mark, you always have the floor. And when you have the floor, you react to them. Then you tell us what has been done.
But you said I should wait. Because I wanted to give you some of the things, the intangibles that I'm talking about. For even this one, we've gotten land for free. The film, for Film Village.
You see, you couch them all as intangibles. But you could have gone ahead to mention them because again we're going manifesto promise by manifesto promise.
I answered that
so
based on your question.
Manifesto promise.
It was based on your question.
The question.
I answered questions.
Can we move on to the next manifesto?
Hold on, let's go to the next manifesto promise. Then I'll give you a few minutes to let us know what has actually been done. Because so far it's beginning to look like.
Then you give us time to also let him know that whatever he's saying is not true.
So you see,
you let's go to the next one.
I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair. It looks like you've already blocked your mic. You not accept anything.
Look, we've all read the manifesto, and we all know what is on the ground.
The next
my
manifesto,
brother,
but the Film Village is not in the manifesto.
Mark,
it is not.
Mark, hold on.
Mark,
no, that one is not there. Hold on. Let's move forward. Mark, there's another manifesto promise that I find quite interesting.
I thought you were going to talk about your.
I don't live too far from the trade fair, so I know, Mark, I know there's a lot of work going on at the trade fair.
Okay.
In your promise, 2020, you said you were going to build the world's largest convention center. And per research, not even research, we all know that the NEC is the largest convention center in the world, over 400,000 capacity. Is that what you're looking at building? Which means yours should be about 500,000.
I do not know the venue you are talking about. I haven't been there before.
Oh, it's the Shanghai Mess.
That's what I'm saying, that I do not know it.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So I can only talk about what we've promised.
It's in the country that has the world's largest
I am happy when you mention that. You know, when you mention the venues, people often think that it's only human beings that it's going to take.
Yeah.
We went for a fair in Madrid. It's called Fitur. And for me, I got tired because I was tired with walking around. It's a big place, and if you give every country, and let's not forget, gradually, tourism, maybe creative arts is relatively not like what we have for tourism. But our tourism side is growing very, very fast, especially with what happened to us in the year of return. And so very soon, we're going to get international festivals coming in here. I have someone right now on my phone chatting with me who wants to bring is it Alicia Keys and Beyonce this Christmas.
So you believe it is relevant?
Just,
it's something that is needed?
Yes.
Aside the church that we're building?
We cannot, the church is not for yo-yo.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Rex, do you believe this is something we need? Looking at the amount of money that we're going to it, it's not going to be cheap. Is that PPP as well? Well, that one is.
Was it mentioned?
No, that one is not PPP.
Okay, so if it's not PPP,
okay.
You know,
like that.
the whole situation is, if we are to do scale of
preference,
scale of importance, I believe that what they are talking about with the largest whatever is just a talk. It's just a talk, because they will end up coming to tell us that, you know, we have a problem with the land title and blah, blah, blah. It's just a talk. The little things that you promised, just 9 theaters, if the MPP government had been able to do one, now, you see our National Theatre here, how many years is it now? Can you compare it, as old as it is, to any of these things that they are claiming they've built a theatre? If they've been able to do one, these same theatres could have solved all the problems. You want to build a studio, right? Within the theatre, you can house the studio. Because theatres and studios are built with specific kind of design and acoustics and all
elements,
that. You know, you are running away from the theatres and now going to promise
haven't run away. They said they are refurbishing.
Oh. No, George. I think you're getting it wrong.
We'll come to you. Let's go to Arnold, then we'll come to you. Yeah.
You see, on the issue of the convention centers and the exhibition, stuff, convention center and large sitting capacity theaters virtually serve the same purpose.
Pretty much.
So here we are, we've not able to even acquire land. We've not able to fix the large sitting capacity theaters, but we want to fix convention theaters.
You see, relax. In all honesty to them, and in all fairness, because I play in the event space, large seating theaters could be like your National Theatre. I cannot hold an auto show at the National Theatre.
They virtually serve the same purpose.
Pretty much, you know, but yeah, not exactly same. Yeah.
And you see, I find it a little bit confounding with regard to whoever has been writing the manifesto, especially for creative art. That person loves to use the word largest.
And also modern.
I do not know why. I do not know why. But now when I say largest, I know it will not be done. But
and then you know it's MPP.
No,
and then when you say ultra modern, it's MPP.
But you see, we need the exhibition center. Yes. I don't know why it should be large or largest.
Largest, yeah.
Because again, over the period, one of our biggest complaints has been the fact that we do not have a place where we celebrate the works of our legends.
Exactly.
So, for example, I do not have a room or a space where I would see Akrex's stuff or Marco Koku's works over the period. Yeah. So, as for the exhibition center, we need it. But why should it be large or largest? So, there's a bit
okay, we'll go and cancel the large.
Let's move on. But, Mark, you see, in all honesty, somebody sitting back would say, but you promised me theater, you haven't built. You promised me studio, you haven't built. In fact, you promised me a certain marine drive, you haven't built. And now you want to build me the largest convention center in the world.
400,000.
Okay, you know.
And how come marine drive has disappeared from everything the NPP has been saying? Anyway, let's focus on the manifesto.
You see, if you go through the manifesto again, you notice that we are not a society, or we are not a people who are not realists. We are not people who lie. Wait,
they don't.
They don't.
Please.
They don't.
They don't.
They don't. No. See, you notice
your definition of lie might be different from this.
They don't.
Yes,
they don't.
Exactly.
They don't.
Guess what, George? If you saw when we were doing the presentation, did you notice that? I think one of you touched on it. Notice that the promises for this year is
lower.
Sort of lower. Yeah. It is because in the vice president's manifesto speech, he even said that we're going to continue with the theater agenda. He didn't say we are discarding it and we are starting afresh. So all the 4 or whatever things that we are left with in the first 4, we are not done. Like I said, the fundamentals are now almost right. And so we are working on them to finish in the next 4. And so we only added like addenda to the first 4. That is why the numbers are if I can use the word scanty, because we don't want to add many, because we want to add the rest to the next 4.
Interesting.
Yes. So if I begin to tell you some of the things, then you begin to appreciate where I'm coming from. Like the film village that he mentioned. We got land. If I go on my phone, I'll give you specific number of acres, plenty, somewhere in the Ashanti region. We have 2 of them. At a point in time, 2 different towns were even fighting over it, which is very typical of Ghanaians who want development in their space. Yeah. So very soon, you see minister will go and cut sword for it.
Oh, so there we know.
Look, I want
wait, let him.
Creative Art School.
Yeah.
You are academia or academic like myself. We like books. When we did the plan, when we came to power in 2017, myself, Frank, for the whole team, we discovered that our fundamental problem, one of them, is education. This 50 million that came, you hear people speak on radio. It's kind of an account, but you hear this in other groups of commerce.
You said something.
So these are outside the manifesto.
These are outside the manifesto.
Yes.
You let's stay in the manifesto.
Yes.
Because you see, the manifesto is what we can hold you by. The manifesto is the promise you made to the sector. You understand? This education thing that you speak about. Yes.
So if like Donald Trump said, we should try chloroquine. If you try chloroquine and it works for you, because chloroquine has not been written in a book that you should take it, you won't take it.
That's
okay,
not
so
what
the
saying.
paracetamol that was written in the book, they will not give us.
You won't take it.
Let's go on.
It doesn't, it doesn't nullify the strength of what we've done.
No, we are not nullifying the strength of that.
But I see what you've said. But I see you want to nullify.
Mark, hold on. This is not Showbiz A to Z. If it were, we would look at
this.
This
is
Manifesto Tracker.
Okay.
We are tracking the manifesto.
Let's track it.
You want to focus on the manifesto. You know, and Rex, let me come to you.
So let me give you my manifesto, what we've done in the manifesto.
Hold on. This one says, we will build a digital platform for artists to make their products available to the global market. Don't these exist already?
You see, these are some of the things. I mean, when the vice president was talking and all these things, let me focus on this.
Okay.
You see, what platform are they talking about? The whole phrase is vague.
Yeah, it's bunched together.
Because we have different types of artistic work. Music, literally, audiovisuals, sculptures, photographs, blah, 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 software development. So, which type of platform are you creating? Mind you, you had already promised in your 2016 manifesto that you are going to organize some login machine or whatever. It was similar like the same thing. Nothing has happened.
We did our best. You were not for it.
You know,
hold on. We'll come to you, Mark.
I heard Mark saying on radio that they did their best and we were not ready for it. No, I mean, this is... I want to put
set the record straight.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
We've been in power. You've been in power for 3.5 years. And there was no time that you brought anybody to even do any presentation to Gamro. That let me finish.
Okay.
That you brought anybody to do a presentation. We've been struggling as an organization to look for this so-called login system and whatever. I said companies that are around, third-party companies that deliver this kind of services. It is only 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago that my brother Mark called me, telling me that this company has come to do some presentation to them, and then they want Gamro to deal with them. By then, we had already signed an agreement with an American company, okay? And knowing very well that my brother Mark is a politician and I'm a politician, we have 3 months to election, you come and call me to tell me this, to use the optics to make yourself and your party look good. Already, thankfully, we have already signed an MOU. So if you say you've tried your best, if you have done
this is unfair. You see,
this is thankfully. Let me finish.
So for him,
let me finish.
It is deliberate to delay it and not accept mine.
It is not deliberate.
So he can say
no, let me finish. I had already signed the MOU, and I told you that I'm saying that you've been in power for 3 years. 3 years, and if you had been gotten back to us even after 2 years, where we're struggling, you know, and now you have 4 months to election, and you come and tell me, and it's not as if you have even brought any this thing to you. You said you have met some company and you think they can solve the Gamro problem.
Rex, so that's not what I said.
That's what you said.
Okay, no, that's what I said.
Rex, let Mark respond.
Okay, good.
Yes.
I called. He's not the one I called.
Yeah.
I called Abraham. Okay, let me establish that. Good music came to see me on something for multimedia. And I thought that with the same concept, you can use it for login. So I called Rex and put him in a meeting for good music to have a presentation for him. If you like, call the good music. I asked them if they didn't meet Rex Omar on a login system thing. Who did it? I did it.
You did it as Okeokumante or as what?
Rex. Who do I work for?
Okay, you let me finish.
I told him not to interrupt.
Okay,
who do I work for? We have very few minutes to finish, so we have to be quick.
It is multimedia has not promised you a login system. Okeokumante has not promised you a login system.
The NPP government promised.
Correct. So if I call you and I work for NPP and I tell you that,
and why didn't you call me at NPP
office? Rex.
You called me at multimedia.
Rex, please.
So what's wrong with that? Is it a venue?
Rex, please hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
Is it a venue?
You go ahead.
Correct. Go ahead.
So I did all that. I even told you that I have asked Abraham to send me how much you need to invest because you know the technology. Every time nothing came. So I noticed that the people themselves. So I gave a job to Spikey. You know Spikey?
Yeah.
So Spikey got this British guy and partnered him. And somewhere a few weeks ago, they made a presentation to us. I said, okay, we're not the users. It is Gamro. So I called Abraham that we want to come and make a presentation to them. Abraham said we should bring a letter. So I said, what?
A letter to make a presentation?
Yes.
Okay.
I said, why? A letter. Are you not in need? He said, oh, yeah, that's how. So Frank wrote the letter. On his way, I called Rex and said, this day and age, we send mail. We don't write letters. So I expected him to ask me, especially when you work around technology.
Yeah.
And then Rex said, oh, he didn't tell you that we've engaged some people in America. I said, no. Everyone was actually asking us to bring a letter too. The CEO says bring a letter. The board chairman says we've engaged already. So I asked Frank to return. And Frank actually said that, let me drop the letter before in future they will go and say that we didn't bring anything. I told Frank that I trust Rex. He says they've engaged somebody already. But for that matter, we made efforts. Call Good Music, and they will tell you that I did.
Can I?
I'll come to you. Hold on.
Please,
Hold on. I need you
more.
to calm down first. Let's go to Arnold.
For me, I think the login bit is quite unfortunate. Because again, one of the bane of the industry is royalties.
Yeah.
And they've always pinned the lack of our royalty system or the lackadaisical or higgledy-piggledy structure of our royalty system to lack of logging.
Exactly.
Here we are. It looked as if we have a solution to our logging problem. However, because the leader of GAMRO or the chairman of GAMRO is NDC, and the one actually facilitating the process is MPP. We are having a problem.
No,
that's what I figured. Because see, if he were to be an MPP member,
man,
I'm sure it would have been solved by now.
So you feel Rex was playing politics?
I don't know, but I'm saying
because you see, Rex, when you listen to your earlier submission, you actually even use the word thankfully.
Yes. No, hold on. Let me say.
Which also shows that you actually did say that you thought because it's getting closer to the end of the year, they wanted to use you to make. No, you let's make Arnold finish.
Arnold finish.
That's how I feel regards to the logging system, and I pray that you guys would sort out this problem because it's an industry problem. It has nothing to do with party affiliation at all. Because see, you should hear our legends, even the young ones, complain about the lack of royalties and the fact that they are not getting their monies with regards to their music. So this issue must be solved. Now let me go to the promise on the digital platforms. George, I do not have a problem. Whether we already have existing digital platforms and government want to initiate a new one. So what? But my issue is, what is the specification? Because it talks about the fact that you are going to set up digital platform for artists.
The truth is that this platform deal is almost done.
Okay.
This one is almost done.
Okay.
You remember Kojo Ponkroma and some of the artists, they call themselves Alliance.
Alliance.
Mark, hold on. Arnold, did you learn?
No, let him. I mean,
you want him to react?
Because, okay. The Alliance group.
Yes, Alliance for changing music.
You know, they had this engagement with Kojo Ponkroma. So Kojo also got an appointment with the minister, Barbara Tinjesi. So we had the Zoom meeting. That was the early days of COVID. You know, the shock and the lack of performances and all of that. So they were asking, so the industry, now that we are not performing, what are you doing for us as government? And I remember what I said. My argument was that MTN has MTN Play. We've been to meetings. The technology, the owners of technology in Ghana is almost MTN. But even them, they tried it. And what happened? We helped them, it didn't succeed. We all say, oh, we won't take our music. Oh, it's too, you are taking too much. We are all part of it. And then that platform went down. I heard they've introduced a new one. Sadiq Dems work on it. So my argument was that the way you, this industry people, are saying that we should get you this, are you ready to use it? Are you ready to put your music and the other film, whatever, on it? Because people are proud to talk about iTunes. People are proud to talk about other stuff. Guess what? Again, that is also a PPP. I even engaged DKB to work on it too as well. So we've had other people make.
Which DKB, the comedian?
No. Oh, our own DKB.
Of course.
Wizard.
Yeah, David.
Yeah, David.
Yeah.
Yes. He also had one. So we got this other guy who made a presentation who said he wanted to man his thing, but he wants government as a partner, which we were already interested in. His is like one-stop shop. That's why Rex said their login system is a one-stop shop. If you want to even do your show, like VGMA coming up this weekend, you can go on it, you pay and watch. Anything that you want to purchase, it's not just music. It's not just film. Anything in the creative space, art, fine art.
We're out of time. We would have to go. We'd have to wrap it up. I mean, unfortunately, this show should be 2 hours.
I really want to clear.
Yes, very quickly. Yes. You have a. You have a minute.
Yes,
about 60 seconds.
I want to correct. I want to correct.
Final thoughts.
Yes.
This is your final comment. So
I want to correct. I want to correct an impression. You know, in the music industry, GAMRO, whatever, we don't do partisan politics. We don't. You know, the whole situation is. Yes, we met good music. Not only good music, we also met Kisima. Their system of logging is different from what GAMRO needed.
Okay.
So we've met with them and we were scouting around the world. And we got a company who is not just logging radio and TV and online. They are also bringing Netflix in Ghana. They are also logging on all digital platforms around the globe. They are working for America. They are working for Canada. And thankfully...
When you say bringing Netflix, you mean coming to log for Netflix?
Yes.
Interesting.
So it's a whole huge, huge... And it's taken us long negotiation to be able to get where we are now. You know? So it's not politics. I just brought that in that when we were struggling, and government was in power, there was no time that government proposed that we will give you 1 cedi. Sometimes we brought people. The reason why
we make any presentation to us at all.
You have your final minute.
Mark.
This is the final minute. Let him learn.
Okay. So the whole situation is you are one of us.
Yeah.
And you are in government. And it's not BBI debate me account. What I say. So the whole situation is, in terms of government coming in for us to help us in terms of GAMRO and whatever, it did not come. Let's be honest.
George, I think it will not be factual for anybody to tout that the MPP government has not done anything for the industry. The only issue is most of the things done were outside the manifesto. So, for example, the year of return, biggest initiative thus far.
Brilliant. Brilliant. And it's continuing.
Yes.
This is had it not been for COVID.
So we need to actually applaud them for some of the things they've done.
Hey, go back.
For that one, we are all applauding.
Please, clap.
Year of return.
So that one is the only thing.
So year of return.
It's the only thing.
He talked about the film village. Brilliant idea as well. We just need to see some progress. National Film Authority. Just that they do not have an office.
No, they don't.
We are still working on it.
Even yourself, you are not being paid.
Film classification. No film has been presented
yet. And creative, much people did. They are
not being paid.
Okay, we don't have paid. Let's go.
Most importantly, funding. I mean, let's applaud them. There's been some funding to the industry. World Bank, stimulus package, and then the GTA film support system. So, I mean, some work has been done. So big ups to them.
Big ups to them.
Your final school as well.
Mark, your final words, then we go.
Okay, I think that I must appreciate my colleagues in the art space for all the support. These things all count. The push they give to us on various radio, television platforms, the motivation. Sometimes they hit you hard, but we see all of them as motivation. We must admit that the country had to fix some socioeconomic needs in our first few years. And I'm sure that has also affected us in some way because the money is scarce. And so when you must fix lights, you must fix other things that, let's not forget that if your country has socioeconomic problems, the fundamentals are wrong. Even creative arts won't succeed. Even if you have all the theaters, if you have all the things. Year of Return was successful because the environment was convenient for people to come and enjoy. Electricity was stable, people felt at home when they came down and all of that. So that's what I'm saying that, yes, I agree with my brothers that even me, I want more. Oliver Twist is still in us.
Definitely.
And we've not been able to give them all that we promised. But that is why we need the next 4. Because if you compare 2 million cedis given to a war, if you compare 2 million cedis given to a war, we are giving 50 million. 40
we're out of time. Your minute is out. Your minute is out. You are now making a political
He has failed. So that's why I want him out.
Special thanks to Marco Krikuma and Terry Rexoma and Anoda Samuabidu. It's been an exciting edition. This is the Manifesto Tracker right here on Joynews TV. My name is George Quay. You got to keep watching it because they've got a lot more tracking to do for you. Right about now, I'm going to be crossing over to Joy 99.7 for the Late Night Express. And let me say as well, yes, we're going to come here next week so that we can dive deep into the NDC Manifesto. Because there's nothing for the creative arts. Is that what you're saying?
You have nothing to say. You'll be so happy.
Let me say a big thank you to Multi Express for my outfit. That's my brother out there. Thanks to you. And hey, we're out. The special thanks to my brother Philip Na as well, Adam 90, and the entire production team right here. They made it happen. I mean, hey, I like it here. This is my first time on Joynews TV. We'll come back. Yeah, I think we can chat. I mean, they finished. Executive producer says I should mention her name, but I won't mention. My name is George Quay. Thank you so very much for watching. Good evening.